Hey everybody, Steve Bergen here, and we are going to focus on formulas at an intermediate level, starting of course with the magic fill down, which is so useful and almost everybody knows, but not everybody. And then we will work through the various skills on the left hand side, but we will stay away from the dollar symbol, which will be a different lesson. Okay, so if you go to the bottom right of a cell, bottom right, you get a plus or a cross, and then when you click and pull down, you're filling things down. So I will put a pattern of numbers in 23, 34, and fill down, and I will put in 1, 3, 5, and I will fill down. And now let's begin. So magic fill, you'll see it over and over again. Most of you know it already. The sum formula, right? And I mean the formula, I don't mean the shortcut. Means you click at the bottom of a bunch of numbers and you type equals, because all formulas begin with equals. You type sum, uppercase or lowercase. You type left paren, and then you either, like bingo, go C3 colon C12, or you can drag over the same thing. So this cell now is the sum of what's above. And as you know, when I change that, the yellow one changes. But the other way to do it is the drag method, equals sum, upper lowercase irrelevant, left paren, and now I'm going to pull down and then go right parenthesis. You can also do the sum of discrete cells. So I can put here equal sum, and then I could say C3, comma, C5, comma, C8. Then I press return. So this cell, this formula right here, right, is discrete cells, and when you double click on it, it actually tells you them, puts them in color, and shows you what those cells are. Okay, so that's a little flexibility. Average is just, now this has just happened to me, not on purpose. You get yourself, it's almost like just a plague coming your way, a virus. You get yourself all these crazy things, and you're trying to click out of it. The key is, look where the check is and the X is. The check, which is green, means I like it. The X means I don't like it. And that's the way to get out of that complexity. Average is the same kind of thing as sum. Max and min, some of you are not familiar with, equal, max, paren, and then you can also put in your formula a block that looks like that. It doesn't have to be just a horizontal or vertical strip. Now I'm going C3 to D12, and I'm pressing return, and I'm getting 345, because that's the biggest number there, until of course I type in 1001, and now 1001 is the biggest number. Okay, so I can comfortably say that we have covered magic fill, sum, average, max, min, and we're okay with that. You've got to practice, and you've got to ask me questions, of course. Somewhat related to text to columns, I'm going to change some of my names here to Bob Dylan, who I like a lot, and Bruce Springsteen, who I like a lot, and Larry Bird, who I like a lot, and his mother, who I've never met, but her name was Georgia Bird before she passed away. And now I would like to take these cells and have it split the first name from the last name. So if I highlight the cells in question and I look under the menu, I'm going to find text to columns. There it is, text to columns. And then it says, and don't let this language overwhelm you, it says, do you want delimited, meaning commas, tabs, or spaces? Yes, that's almost always what we want, because our words are not, the first 3 letters, 4 letters, because it's a space that marks the difference between a first name and last name. So I come here, I leave it, I choose next, and now I've got to put a space because most of the time the space is the separator between the first name and last name. They're giving you options for other things like semicolon and comma, but space is what we want. And then I choose finish, and now it took the last name and put it in a separate column. I'll undo it one more time. I highlight the area that I want, and I go to data, text to columns, text to columns. I make sure it says delimited, right? I make sure it says space. Gotta have that space. You can even see down here what it does wrong if you don't do the space. Then I go finish and I have that. Okay, so I'm going to put a yellow check on that. And the reason why it's somewhat related, I included it here, because the ampersand is going to join things. Sometimes you have Steve Bergen, Bob Dylan, and you want to put it in first name, last name, or you want to go last name, comma, first name. So here's my formula with ampersand. All formulas begin with equals. And now I'm going to type G3, even though I could have pointed to it. And then I go ampersand. Ampersand means joins to, adds to, concatenates. And now I'm going to go a space because I think I want to have a comma, and then another ampersand, and then F3. There's the formula. All formulas begin with equals. Upper lowercase is irrelevant. Equals G3, that's where it says Bergen, and then ampersand, and then a comma, because the comma is going to divide, and then the comma is going to put a comma after Bergen, and then F3 is my first name, Steve. When I press return, I now have it in that format. If I click on Bergen, comma, Steve, again, my friend, the magic fill, right, which is, right, wait till you get that black cross, or whatever the symbol is on your Mac or PC, and then you get the first name, last name, in the order that you want. Okay? Hope that helps you, and now we're going to cross that one off. Okay, mid would allow you to take a portion of. Mid is a chunk of. So let's say my boss doesn't want this. I'll undo that. But my boss wants to have S. Bergen, B. Dylan, B. Springsteen, L. Bird. Okay, so now I'm going to go equal, and I'm going to take a portion of the word Steve. Mid, M-I-D, upper lowercase irrelevant, left parenthesis, F3, comma, starting at 1, having a length of 1. A portion of, mid is like mid portion, mid chunk. A portion of F3 starting at 1, having a length of 1. And then ampersand, which means join or concatenate, with G3. So maybe I'm doing this because it has to do with logins for accounts. Who knows why? I wanted to say S. Bergen. I press return, and there I have that. I click, and now I fill down, magic fill, and I've got all of those. Remember, you can pause this video anytime you want, right? And then you can try things out. You got to figure out your best way of learning. Okay, we're done with ampersand. We're done with mid. We've got a family. We'll call it the count family. And the count family says, I can count from a bunch of cells, and count works with numbers, and count A works with anything. So if I want to know, I'll put it in B3, if I want to know how many cells from C3 to H3 are numbers, I can go equal count, and then I can go C3 colon H3. Remember what I said, count works with numbers, count A works with anything. And when I press return, it says 2, which means in this section right over here, this section that I'm making blue for your eyes, there are 2 things that qualify as numbers. I'm going to change my name to 33, and now there are 3 things that qualify to numbers. I'm going to change my last name to 44, and now there are 4. Why? Because it's count. Count A means count anything. So if I go count A, C3 to H3, it says 5. If I change 33 to be blank blank and wipe it out, it says 4. If I change 44 to be space, 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 it still says 4 because space means there's something there. Okay, but if I wipe out the spaces, then it's going to say 3. You don't have to use this just on a row or a column. I can come here and say equal count A, and I could say C3 colon F12. And that means it's counting if anything's there. So there are 29 entries in that area. Okay, that's count and count A. Count and count A means count anything. Count blanks, right? It's just what it sounds like. Equal count blank. And I will say C2 through H4. How many blanks are in C2 through H4? According to the computer, there are 10 blanks in C2 through H4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yikes, where's the 10th one? I don't know, it's there. I must have made a mistake. I can't waste my time, sorry. But count blank is straightforward. It counts the number of blanks, right? Equal count blank, and I will go F4 through F15, and it says there are 3 blanks there. 1, A, 2, 3. Those are the 3, and notice it changed to 0. Okay, no big deal, not tremendously useful, right? But sometimes useful. And what it's doing is it's getting you to, like doing jumping jacks, it's getting you to exercise your formula muscles. Because the key to getting better at Excel is using formulas as comfortable as you use a knife or a fork or a pen or a pencil. And most people don't. And so we begin this intermediate level Excel course pushing you to see how many of these things you can learn and acquire. COUNTIF is absolutely my best friend, and it's much more useful than the other 3 counts, right? COUNTIF, right, gets used for things like how many times in this column does it say so-and-so? I'll come here and I'll say equal COUNTIF, and then it says range, and I'll give it the range of a rectangle. And how many times in F4 through G12 does it say the word bird? You have to put the word bird in quotes. So look carefully where I'm pointing. COUNTIF, one word, the block, the range F4 to G12, comma, bird. Press return, and it says it's there 2 times. I will change Dylan to bird, and it's there 3 times. Okay, things have got to be in quotes when you do this. Okay, finally, there's make up your own formula. And make up your own formula can be used for weighted averages, but also can be used for solving all sorts of problems. right? So let's say this is my quiz and this is my test. So a quick example, right? These are what students got, equal C3, which might be worth 3 times its value, plus D3, which might be worth 2 times its value, and that whole fraction in the numerator divided by 5 parts. That's the way, at least one of the ways, to make up a weighted formula. Like mixing flour and sugar, you're mixing 3 parts of your quiz and 2 parts of your test, and you're dividing it by 5, right? Because why? Because you had 5 parts, 5 spoons altogether. So let's give someone a quiz average of 95 and a test average of 85, and now their weighted average, which I'll just abbreviate as WA, their weighted average is 91. Why? Because it's 3 parts of C3 and 2 parts of D3, all with parentheses around it, divided by 5. So there's so many ways you can make up your own formulas. Remember, the formulas have no spaces in them. And in another 1 or 2 lessons, you'll learn about dollar signs, and all of a sudden you'll have dollar signs in these formulas, but we're going to stay away from that at this point. Then, of course, having done it once, you would bring it down. All right? So everything is getting yellow here. This is Steve Bergen signing off. And remember, you got to practice, 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 do it, and ask questions when we talk. All right. Bye, everybody.